President Obama telling leaders of some Central American countries to try and stem the flow of children across the southern border. In a meeting with the presidents of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador at the White House, the president said children without a proper claim to stay will be returned to their countries. Joining me now, Deneen Borelli, Outreach Director for FreedomWorks and a Fox News contributor, and Chris Kofinas, a former Chief of Staff to Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Thank you both for being here today on this pretty tough topic.
Hi, Molly.
Hi, guys. Well, Deneen, let's start with you. As this group of leaders from Central America comes forward to the White House, speaking with the president, he had been previously criticized for not going down to the border in Texas and getting a first-hand look. Now we're seeing the leaders that are really deeply involved in this crisis meeting. But what came out of that? How meaningful was it?
Well, that is a good question. How meaningful was it? Was it another photo op? Listen, this is a human tragedy, don't get me wrong. But with President Obama being the chief executive, the operator-in-chief of our country, his first priority should be is to protect our borders. His 2012 executive action basically opened up our borders as far as I'm concerned. People in those countries are under the impression that they can come here and they will be granted legal status, they will be granted amnesty. We're sending the wrong message. We need to seal our borders, and we need to change these laws, the 2008 trafficking law and Obama's 2012 executive action. We need to change them.
Chris, I want to bring you in on this because the president of Honduras, after this meeting, talked about ambiguity in U.S. laws being part of this problem. And well, they all talked about sort of a shared mutual responsibility. Your thoughts on what he said?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think this is something that's been going on. Clearly, this problem's been going on for decades. This is not a new phenomenon. You had this, the crisis, the border. It has obviously exploded, in particular in the last, year or so. But we've had a failure amongst the Republicans, I would say, to be willing to sit down with the president after, even with repeated requests to figure out some compromise deal. The Senate passed an immigration measure. The House has not. The House clearly does not want to. So at some point, when politics trumps all, you're not going to find a solution to a serious problem. And now what you have, I think, at the border is a serious humanitarian crisis when you're talking about these unaccompanied children, traveling far distances that we have to address. But you're not going to address it, by simply blaming the president. I mean, that's an easy thing for Republicans to do.
Deneen, Chris is bringing up an interesting point here. Just a moment. Chris brought up an interesting point just a moment ago where he's talking about inaction and things.
Obama's actions have resulted in the increase of individuals who are coming across our borders.
When you're talking about Obama's actions, exactly, I was just going to bring that up, executive actions. That's what's being promised right now. The White House announcing that possibly yet again another executive action could be taken, this time regarding illegal immigrants all across the country, not just the children streaming across the border right now. They're specifically talking about families that already have children here, and a possibility of a major movement there. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think Obama is doubling down on stupid. Listen, we already know what the results are from his 2012 executive action. Even the Homeland Security memo said that this is why we are witnessing the number of people who are coming across our border. We need to seal the borders, get the National Guard out there. I think this is all political. Obama's numbers are dropping. He's losing faith in his black base because they are complaining about Obama and what's going on at the border. I think this is all politically driven.
Now, there is, of course, a midterm around the corner. We all are very well aware of that. But, Chris, when we're talking about politics as an aspect in this, Republicans have expressed a lot of frustration. Democrats have expressed a lot of frustration. How do you move forward from here? And what would an executive action here mean politically?
Well, I think you're talking. There's two different issues here. You have the immediate crisis at the border with all these unaccompanied children. The president made it very clear that these children are not going to be able to stay. There may be exceptions, obviously, for people who apply and are able to, and are granted some type of refugee or asylum status, but it is not going to be an open door policy in that sense. But then you have the bigger problem that the president and Democrats have been talking about, and by the way, a lot of Republicans, including, for example, Senator Graham, who said just a few weeks ago or a few days ago that if the Republicans don't address this issue as well, they're not going to have a very good election in 2016. But the reality is you have to sit down. Both parties have to realize this is not a Democrat problem. This is not a Republican problem. This is something that we have to solve in a bipartisan fashion. You're not going to solve it by simply just blaming each other.
What we need to do is seal the border. Obama is basically rolling out the red carpet for folks to come across our borders, not in the proper way, not in the proper process. And it's the wrong message to send to these individuals. That's why we're witnessing the numbers of people coming across our borders.
Certainly a lot of rhetoric on both sides, and now they've been talking about a tremendous amount of money involved in this, and they're wide apart on their spending, and now a break for Congress right around the corner. We'll see what happens with that beginning in August.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Chris Kofinas.
Thanks, Molly.
Deneen Borelli for joining me here today to talk about this continuing issue. Appreciate it.